Well, welcome back, and we are continuing our conversation with Brendan on how to find financial freedom. Okay, I got a really good question for you. There's a new trend right now on TV. There's all kinds of commercials about these new investment apps that you can do your own thing. Tell us a little bit about those, what we should be thinking about them. Should we be worried about them, concerned? What are your thoughts on those?
Well, let me back it up a little bit to how Christians, Protestants in particular, tend to think. We tend to figure that because we talk directly to God, that whatever we and God work out together is going to be just fine. We don't, I think, spend enough time thinking horizontally, thinking about our relation to other people, because our relation to other people and our relationship to God are very much interconnected.
Right.
So then if you look at an app, if what you and God work out together may or may not be the right thing because you haven't got inputs from other people, what you and the app work out, I'm not sure that's going to do the trick for most people, particularly people that are new at investing.
Right.
Having a trusted person that you can talk to, having a human being off which you can, even if you're a successful investor, being able to talk to another person about your ideas and seeing whether they, for want of a better term, pass the smell test, is probably better for most people, particularly if they're starting out investing for the first time.
Well, I think that's brilliant. I'm a firm believer that if you need help, get it any way that you can. And so you still see asking investment advisors as a really solid move for people who are maybe trying to figure it out. Like, what should I be doing? Like, maybe they're thinking about retirement. Maybe they're thinking about an inheritance. Maybe they're thinking about their will, all those kinds of things. What do you think about that?
Well, to a degree, I'm talking my own position in that this is what I do for a living.
Right.
But whether it's making a will or getting dentistry, one should really talk to someone who's done very, very many of these. And when it comes to figuring out investments, what's really important is if you have a good way of going about it, even if you're an expert, having somebody to help you stay consistent with the methodology that's worked in the past. Let's say that you invest, and this is particularly for novices, is a great way to start. Invest in companies that you know something about. Because where you make outsized returns in investing is where you know more than the market as a whole. And if there's a company whose product you like, start by investing in that. That's a concept that Peter Lynch of Fidelity talked about 40 years ago. I think it still holds true today. So, but having someone that's you can talk to that's going to help you keep your ideas consistent with what's worked in the past is not a bad suggestion, even for the most expert investor.
Okay, let's talk about the future. Okay, as you look into the future with all your experience and expertise and talking about, being good and wise with your finances and investing in
making me sound old, Bill.
Well, no, you're not, because I'm sure I'm older than you are. So, and I don't consider myself old. But as you look into the future, what do you see? So let's say there's our viewers, and they're thinking, what should I be doing with my money? What do you tell your clients?
Well, I think they should do a few things that I've talked about already. Invest in companies that inspire them. If you're looking at it from a particularly Christian perspective, I mean, how do you invest in a Christian way? How we tackle that is to own companies that at their core are making a product that is beneficial for their customers and for society. So rather than saying, don't do this and don't do that and don't do the other, look at the very core of what this company does and see whether they're trying to do the right thing, trying to make a product that's good. And that's probably a very good place to start. But then if you're looking at some of these esoterica, like, I don't know, Bitcoin, I mean, we can talk about that or the metaverse or other things, but I'll let you ask the question and see where we go with that.
Okay, you brought it up. So I took the bait. Let's talk about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. I mean, there's a lot of conversation right now. And maybe some of our viewers are very confused about even what that is, because all they can think of, it's not real money in my hand. How does it work? So what's your best summary of what cryptocurrencies really are right now?
I think my best summary is that investors should keep an open mind. Because if you look back 40 odd years to the introduction of personal computers, people thought, oh, well, they can keep recipes on it. They had no idea what was possible. Go back to the 1990s, you would hear commentators say, well, you can't make money on the internet. Well, you almost can't make money without the internet now.
Right.
So you're looking at cryptocurrencies, which are generally speaking, the product of a technology that allows for the tracking and clearing of the different exchanges of goods and services. So these cryptocurrencies, people are saying, well, they're just the product of drug dealers and criminals, and no legitimate person would ever own them. I mean, I've heard a commentator say that as recently this week. But again, look at the past as a guide to the future. At the present time, you talked about inflation. People are concerned about the value of a dollar, a pound, a euro going down because governments are printing unlimited amounts of these. What is important to know about cryptocurrencies is, generally speaking, there is a limited amount of them. So people see them as a store of value in perhaps the way they saw gold in past generations.
Really interesting. And so you think someone should have an open mind and at least be open to the possibility that that could be a good investment?
Yes. So a way of looking at that is maybe you don't want to buy Bitcoin at 100 times where it was trading just a few years ago, but there are companies that use cryptocurrencies or facilitate the ability to trade in them, or the underlying technology of cryptocurrencies is called blockchain, which is a much more transparent and disintermediated way, a way of getting rid of the middleman for a lot of transactions. And you may see blockchain-based transactions over the next decade or two become the predominant way that financial transactions take place. So blockchain-oriented companies may be a good investment for, but I think it's worth keeping an open mind, because as soon as we're fixed in, you can only use computers for recipes, then we might actually end up missing the future until it's past us.
Right. Well, thank you for those insights. That's super helpful. I think you gave a lot of information, and what I'm taking away from it is, if you are confused, don't be afraid, but get some advice, get some help, and if we invest in the right thing, the why, of course, is we want to invest in the future, in the kingdom. And so thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it, Brendan. Have an amazing day.
Bill, thank you very much.
Happy New Year.